It's true.
Welcome to Flake.
The bush was too big and I couldn't figure out how to turn the weed whacker on, so I just started whacking at it with the handsaw. I'm pretty sure the weed whacker didn't have any gas and I didn't have money for gas, so I had to do it the hard way.
Put some light in here.
Shit. Yep. Okay.
There we go.
I got that on.
Can we get that one on?
Is that too bright?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, that could work.
Man. Come here. Come here. Here the good baby. Your little lynx ears. You're so chunky. You're so chunky.
Hey, and you look very tired.
I'm always tired.
That was in the documentary too.
Yes, it was. There's a lot of vape.
What was in the doc?
Uh-oh.
What'd you do? You hit like 3 at once, and then it was just a clap for the rest of your interview.
Yeah. I bet I can find a third.
Hello? My name's I'm from Forest Lake.
Does it suck here?
Yeah? Let's wait to blur me out.
I'll add the blur right now. Welcome to Forest Lake. Population who gives a fuck? A suburb of the Twin Cities that lies just north of the I-35 split in Washington County. A town that has every fast food place you could imagine. We got a McDonald's, we got a fucking Burger King, we got a Perkins for some reason. I don't know who still goes there. We have a town hall that we spent a ton of money on that's right next to a theater that's one fire away from being condemned. Birthplace of log cabin syrup. Cool. Do you want to go to Target tonight? No, I'd rather go to Walmart. I want to see some broke bitches fighting over some TVs. A town whose motto is as good as it sounds. Somebody built this sidewalk bridge that no one uses that just kind of dumps you off in like a Scooby-Doo ghost town on the other side of the highway. Like, do you want to go to Tired Iron tonight? No, I'm good. Now, you might be thinking 20,000 people and you're calling this a small town. Well, yeah, you'd be right to say the Forest Lake has a lot of people living in it. But there's one big problem. Oh my god, there's nothing to do here. Holy shit. Did you miss me? Hi, my name is Grant Newkirk. I am a filmmaker and director and editor, I guess. Fuck. You might remember me from such classics as How to Use Your Fucking Turn Signal.
Well done, Tristan. You figured out how to use your fucking turn signal.
The documentary.
Erica, you're getting shaded here. You better look out for that tall oak tree, because you're getting some shade.
That one PSA I did for State Patrol. And Johnny.
What will you learn? What will you learn? That your actions have consequences!
Today I decided to make a documentary about living in a small town and what that's like. And honestly, it sucks. Spoiler alert. It fucking sucks. Growing up here, there was nothing to do, nowhere to go. It's so boring. It tears your heart in half. It sucks so bad. It is soul crushing. It hurts. It hurts the soul. It hurts my brain. But yeah, today I decided to interview a few people and see what they thought of it. And maybe, you know, pass the time with another project. Don't mind that one piece of hair that keeps falling in front of my face. Holy shit. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fun. I hope you have a lot of time to watch this, because I don't. Hey, did you watch my new documentary? No. Now, I know what you're asking, or you're all asking yourselves right now. Where is Johnny 2? Now, I don't have the time to put something like that together. I work 2 days a week. What the fuck? My charger just fell.
What, do you want me to get an erection?
No, you gotta scratch your dick though. That's
You
the
got
main
it?
positive thing. It's Forest Lake, right? Yeah, that's hot. Now take your top off.
What is there to do in Forest Lake? I'm genuinely asking.
What is there to do?
Tell us.
Well, there's one movie theater. I think 6 vape stores. There's a beach, but you can't swim in it because it's horribly infested with chiggers, and also it's always covered in dead fish for some reason that I've never been able to figure out. You step in that water for 10 seconds and you're itchy for days. Horrible beach.
Doesn't have E. coli.
Wouldn't even consider that. That's true. That's
Doesn't
true.
have E. coli.
We don't have lead in our water. Yet.
I'm just gonna ramble on about getting my dick sucked in a canoe.
What pseudonym do you want me to use again?
Rufus Jackson. No, call me Dirk. No, we're gonna talk about Dirk because we were talking about the fam. We gotta talk about Dirk.
I'm gonna have a title card for every time you make up a name. So just pause. Why?
Travaris Jackson.
What,
Michael Brown.
what is your name?
Rufus Jackson.
What's your real name?
Rufus Jackson. I grew up in Forest Lake Township, near the high school, pretty much 2 miles away. Not even. Could walk to school regularly because I hate public busing. Everyone who was there was greasy and stupid. One of the last times I rode the bus, this dude hung some chick's panties out the window. That was the last time I rode the bus. I'm like, I don't feel like riding the bus anymore. These people are kind of weird. And they just like smoke cigarettes and scream at me.
Not a wonderful place, no.
What's it like in Forest Lake?
The most entertaining thing about Forest Lake was going to school, because that was the only thing you could do. Since I kind of live on the outskirts, mainly it's fine for me, but as things have changed, it kind of gets a little depressing over time.
Forest Lake High School is a fucking horrible school. They're trying to improve the school now, and their improvement plan was to build a gigantic greenhouse for some fucking reason, even though there wasn't enough lockers for all the students and the place was like a dirty shithole.
What I like most about Forest Lake is not much. All of these stories are completely fictional about the fictional town of Forest Lake, Minnesota, area code 55025. I've been living here since I was born. Lived in this house for 20 years now. I'm 21, so it's Forest Lake. It's better than the shitty ghetto I lived in for 3 years in Superior, Wisconsin. Which I feel like Superior also had a lot of white people. They were all cracked out old white people. Where Forest Lake is a town full of alcoholics, Superior is a town full of pedophile crackheads. But otherwise, they're pretty similar. It's just like a fast food bar hub with nothing else here. It's fast food and bars, a Walmart, and nothing else, just like here. So in many ways, it's similar. The only difference is replace old alcoholics and young stoners with crackheads. I feel like a documentary on Superior would be equally interesting.
Yeah, but probably steal my shit.
Yeah, you'd probably go out there and someone would just take the mic right off of it and see how many rocks you could trade it for it.
Force like almost systematically takes away things that are good for it. I'm Zach. I grew up in Forest Lake. I play music. I play guitar. I skateboard. Basically, been trying to build a studio in my room for the past few years to make music, and hopefully that'll turn into something. There used to be a skate park right next to City Hall, and yeah, it wasn't the greatest. It probably could have been monitored a little better. It was a skate park. It was somewhere to go and like have fun. There was a wall with a really nice mural talking about the history of Forest Lake, and it was super cool, and that got painted over just like white. Completely gone. And don't even get me started on the water tower. History is just being erased in Forest Lake. All the things that made Forest Lake what it was are gone.
They replaced the mural that I remember driving by every day when we'd go into town. They replaced the mural I remember as a kid with a goddamn sticker for the church. So that's, kind of shitty. I'd say the biggest attraction here right now is the bike trail. I mean, it's the most well put together thing in this town, so. You are progressively getting into that point of going from small town charm, genuine small town charm, to small town attempting to be large city and losing everything that made it even somewhat likable. I mean, let's remove the trees over by where Forest View Elementary is to add another apartment complex, because we can't get enough of those. Let's not invest in cleaning the lake at all, so there's not like dead fish heads coming up on shore every time you walk up, because, God forbid Forest Lake has good forests and lakes.
Our population numbers all come from the shitty apartments they keep building that are crammed ass to ass with broke-ass Section 8 housing. So our entire town is just bloated with virtually worthless people crammed into shitty apartments that they build a new one every 2 months to cram more people in.
Forest Lake is just, it's what it is. There's forest, there's lake, not really a forest anymore, but there was a forest. But, it's basic Minnesota town of everything. It's in between suburbia, urbia, and rurbia. Rural.
I feel like there's two types of kids in Forest Lake, two types of people. The ones that think they're from the city and want to be black, and the ones that think they're from the country and want to be Confederate-wielding hicks. There's like the people that go mudding, and there's the type that blast shitty rap music and smoke weed out of their cars. Forest Lake doesn't know what it wants to be. It's kind of neither, so it's just kind of weird to go around. It's very bizarre. It's a bizarre town.
Prepare to be bored. Get yourself some good internet, son. I would just spend all of my time playing video games at home and watching TV. I would have been so utterly fucking bored here. Because there's nothing to do, and I can't even think of some place close to here that starts having something to do until you get into the actual cities. Like if you go to the library, yes, you can read, but you can also do that at home. There's no real point when you have ebooks at our juncture in technology.
Now that's another point about Forest Lake too, is like everything here is built on swamp. That's why like roads are so shit. They don't stay good because they crumble. They repaved 97 when I first moved in, I'm pretty sure, and like you can skate down it now, and it's like, it's not terrible, but there's definitely some big cracks. That's what happens when you build on a swamp. You gotta think too, a lot of like, I was thinking like urban sprawl kind of stuff, like we build neighborhoods just pushing off in this direction. It's like, that's all swamp and like farmland and stuff that's just like paved.
Getting to live here, you get to see the urban sprawl come in. I mean, we can talk about Forest Lake, but you also have to talk about some of the high school class, because Forest Lake wasn't just Forest Lake. Because there's a bunch of all these other shitty little bum towns that are more bumming than us, that don't have anything and contribute to our high school population. Otherwise, we wouldn't have enough people for high school, really. And there is this area called Linwood. Let me tell you about Linwood. Half of their class that came from that part of town didn't graduate high school. Several of them got pregnant. Yeah, they just were a bunch of bad apples, I guess.
I love how you pointed out the town's motto. That was the best. Like, yeah, that's it. As good as it sounds. I wish there was more for, like, things to do outside in Forest Lake. Nature trails or something. It's just kind of, like, flat. And, like, there's one direction through town. There's really nothing to explore unless you want to go, like, skate around neighborhoods or walk around, like, random streets. But after a while, even that gets old. Like, basically just try to find things to kill time with. And I could see why, like, a lot of people get into really stupid stuff in Forest Lake because there's nothing to do and a lot of time.
I don't think there's much to do in this town except for prank local fast food companies. What are we going to do on Saturday night? Sit here and do nothing, get wasted, get high, or creamer bomb Arby's. So we went with creamer bomb Arby's because I was a good kid at the time. Curtis, get out of here, bro. Go. Scoot, come here. I'm just gonna take him. Curtis, what are you trying to do, bro? What are you trying to do? The people probably thought we were annoying. I don't know how we can even show our face around here anymore. It's been like 5 years, so I guess everybody's over it, but we did some stupid shit.
Everyone here looks mostly normal. We don't have any like horrible tweakers like in northern Minnesota or anything. Everyone just looks like a dumbass high school kid who smokes way too much pot and snorts way too much Xanax. Everybody's always got black rings around their eyes from all the Xanax, and they just walk around puffing on vapes and sitting in their car smoking marijuana at red lights as if nobody notices. It's just like a general air of the town. Everyone here is either obnoxious 16-year-old dopehead or literally autistic and running around molesting people, crotchety old people. There's like nothing. Everyone in this town's just like a dumb asshole who's either on Xanax or heroin, running around fucking shit up. Everyone here's a fucking moron.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating town. I feel like I've smoked weed in every parking lot in this town, pretty much anywhere I could, out of anything I could. One time, me and Aiden smoked a tinfoil bowl. We didn't know that'd give you Alzheimer's. I was probably like 14 years old, and Aiden was like 17, so was probably 16 then. We were driving around town in our shitty stick shift car, smoking a tinfoil bowl. Got pretty high. Probably got Alzheimer's. But good times were had there for sure.
Yeah, besides that, there is really nothing to do in this town. I mean, you could go on walks on the bike trail, but besides that, it's pretty much whatever you have at home. Internet, if you have low-speed internet, it is probably miserable as hell to live here. Gas stations, churches, and liquor stores. I remember my mom would always say that it would be, you get drunk on Saturday and then repent on Sunday. That's kind of the gist of it here.
I occasionally go to the grocery store and I occasionally go buy vape juice. And outside of that, anytime I want to do something, I have to drive 20 miles to the nearest thing to do. Fucking blows. We don't have anywhere, there's no hiking, there's no nature anywhere. There's no entertainment, terrible bars, terrible restaurants.
It's just whatever we could do to pass the time. We used to have movie theater parties because our I feel like I'm incriminating us hardcore right now.
It's all on tape.
Everything's alleged. It's all made up. Just don't listen to my stories because none of this has ever happened. Hypothetically, if we did have movie theater parties, we would have shoving handfuls and I have never gotten fucking had a seizure. That's never happened.
You can go to the vape store, you can go to the movie theater. You can smoke weed in the parking lots of various businesses. Back in the day, I would get fucking torched and then I'd wander around Walmart for a while. You can leave Force Lake to go to places that have things to do. We used to sometimes go behind the theater and
So you're saying there's nothing to do in Forest Lake?
virtually not, no.
What besides?
Oh, drink alcohol, but you can do that anywhere. Even the bars in this town are really crappy though. They're all dirty and disgusting.
Why do I have to talk about all this? In Forest Lake, there's a lot of back roads and dirt roads, so you can pretty much conceal yourself pretty safe to blow up shit and burn shit and do shit, whatever you want. There's a way to make napalm really ghetto-y with and you mix it together and it makes a paste. And it burns really slow and whatnot. So it's not like full napalm-like, but you know, it's
like napalm-like.
It's napalm-like. Offset is very competent. He's a very good man. And he talked about allegedly talked about how he also burned shit with napalm back in the day with 101. Best guy. Best thing about Forest Lake High School.
Also, I've heard an alleged story, the very alleged story from a trusted source that is a claim that I do not feel comfortable expanding on, but that's something to keep in mind. You can cut it if you don't want to report it. It was like, you'll never believe what just happened, and I was like, yikes.
I was threatened to be lynched once. Funny, that story. I was friends with a guy since elementary school, and I was more friends with his little brother as time went on. I knew him, and when I was in junior high, there was another kid on the bus who was English, and he told me that it'd be funny if I did like, oh, do you want a spot of tea or whatever? Tease him, not make fun, because he wasn't like the center of bullying or anything. I did that, and the kid went apeshit and told me that he would find me and hang my ass outside of his house and, you know, lynch my nigger ass, whatever. He said, you fat ass, I'll get a chain, I'll find a thick tree. That was really bad. Nothing ever happened to him. That was the scariest part, is because he told me he was going into the military too, so I'm like, oh, good.
You hope you have some ambition to get out of Forest Lake. I've seen a lot of people that never leave, just saying, like, some of them are pretty cool, honestly. Like, they'll tell you about how Forest Lake used to be. Should interview some of them.
I would say if I actually want to do something fun, I either sit in my basement watching a movie or playing video games, or I drive a half hour to the cities where I can actually find something to do. The nice thing is you're right at the split between Minneapolis and St. Paul. So 25-minute drive, 30-minute drive will get you either Minneapolis or St. Paul, which is nice because it's like you can always find shit to do if you go out there. But at the same tone, if we're just looking at Forest Lake as a whole, it's just a uninteresting suburb, essentially. When Walmart is the hangout for the kids, you know, you got some issues. We don't even have like a fucking bowling alley or anything. There is absolutely nowhere to go.
I think that because there's less of an outlet here than, say, like the cities where there's things you could do that are more healthy, it's really easy to get drugs. Whereas, like, if you had something you were more invested in, like hobbies or whatever, blah, 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 I imagine that would be a lot healthier for the community. Whereas, like, if you have something you could put your time into that's healthier. Yeah, we have a YMCA, but that's kind of it on terms of, like, healthy outlet for expression or whatever.
The town wastes all its money on bridges that go to nowhere. There's sidewalks that go nowhere, bridges that go nowhere. The bridge that connects to the high school, the walking bridge to the high school, you go across the street and it dumps you out in the parking lot of a shitty inflatable party rental store that shares its lot with a shitty auto body shop and also the cocaine burrito store. There's nowhere to go. It doesn't go anywhere. They spent like $3 million on this bridge that goes to give kids a convenient way to go buy fucking cocaine. Every year they build like a new bridge for some reason that has no purpose.
You shouldn't have to leave Forest Lake to have a little bit of leisure time or whatever. Like, everybody talks about the cities like there's some sort of escape. Like, I don't know. I kind of make my own fun, so it's like whatever, but I could see Forest Lake growing. The way I see it, Forest Lake is kind of turning into the new Roseville, if that makes sense.
There's not much to do here. I'm literally trying to think about one place in this town that would be remotely interesting for an adult person to visit. that isn't a food place. And I cannot think of a single goddamn area. There's nothing here. There's nothing.
As a kid, we used to have a lot of fun here. You couldn't really go far because you're a kid, but we would play Super Smash Brothers in the basement pretty much 90% of the time. Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Well, we had Teen Center too. I don't know if that's still a thing. I think that's still going on. But like Teen Center, we'd go there every day. And that was super cool because ALC or whatever, they would always have it in that building when I was growing up. And that switched over to the thrift store behind there. I would go there every day, and that was super cool because you would meet up with friends. And like, it was a place for people who didn't have anything to do after school. They would meet up and have fun. Like, I'm glad I didn't really think about it, but yeah, it's kind of another positive thing about Forest Lake is we do have a teen center. I remember one thing that used to be really cool for kids to do was in Wyoming, there was a coffee shop called the Nesting Grounds, and they would have all these bands play. It was just this one random dude that owned it. It was like a pastor or something, and he gave all these kids a makeshift venue to play at, and you would have groups from all over Minnesota coming to this little coffee shop, and kids would get together, and we had a scene. It was fun. You had music that everybody could relate to. Everybody was kind of on this vibe with it, and it felt healthy. Like, it wasn't bad, and that just kind of disappeared. And even then, you gotta have the people to run them, too. It's like, it seemed like it was super undermanaged. There'd be like 1 or 2 people there and a bunch of volunteers or something. If you wanted to get more people in, I think one, you'd have to make it an option in the community, go to like schools or whatever and be like, hey, this is something in the community where you can go. And I think they do that. They used to have shows, like I was saying, they would have like concerts at Teen Center basically, and you get local kids that would play there. Like, I was one of them. It would draw a crowd. We get like one fancy like cities act that would come up and they would rock out, and like, it made everybody happy. It was basically like youth night for the kids that didn't have anything to do. That's just one example. That's like kind of what I grew up with, and I'm grateful that I had that. So
came to class on meth once. We were in 10th grade and was doing meth. Allegedly in Forest Lake, this one time these kids went over to the high school and jacked up this high schooler's car on bricks and their leftover textbooks so they couldn't drive away. And allegedly that person's sister got really mad and started hitting them and crying and hated them after that. But it was good fun. Allegedly.
Yeah, no, Forest Lake's not an exciting place. That's like the point of the documentary, I guess, like, because Forest Lake's a pretty interesting place. I hope this plays at the city council meeting. They're like, oh, look at this nice documentary about Forest Lake. Just another thing to put on the Wikipedia page. Student filmmaker Grant Newkirk made the most incriminating documentary in human history.
Graduated filmmaker, thank you very much.
Oh, graduated filmmaker. I apologize.
Can you guess any of the things we're famous for?
That one hockey coach died here. There's about 4 seconds of the shitty motel outside of town in Fargo. I read on Wikipedia once that apparently we used to be the town that gave the president his Thanksgiving turkey in like the early 1900s, and they found some town that was better at it, so we can't even make a goddamn turkey anymore. Some movie with the girl from The Big Bang Theory was shot here. Mm-hmm. Don't know what it is. I'm sure it's fucking horrible. We also used to have that historical water tower that broke, and so they had to tear it down. We're also famous as that town that's really racist. Or we used to be.
Yeah, we had hate groups at some point, but like, everyone had hate groups, and like, even those hate groups were around, they weren't doing anything hateful. They were just existing, and everyone hated them for existing. It's a lot of people who just, work at Walmart and don't make a lot of money and just living on a day-to-day basis with their measly wage cuck work. To make money in Forest Lake, you have to work at one of the many fast food restaurants. Or become a drug dealer.
It's also awkward growing up here sometimes, being different. It's not just a race thing too, it's a size thing. People have this weird expectation of being an adult way before you're an adult. When I'd get in fights in school, I would always, regardless of if I initiated contact first or if someone else did, I would be the one that'd get in trouble because you're bigger, you could hurt someone. Regardless of if I was defending myself or not, you have the responsibility of making sure the situation doesn't escalate. So I would get in trouble, get yelled at. Hell, when I would break up fights and carry like my friends away, I could literally throw them over my shoulder and carry them away. I would get in trouble because I could have hurt them while I was carrying them. If I was close to there, get in trouble. If anyone mentioned my name, get in trouble. If I was seen, definitely got in trouble. There was nothing you could do.
The school also had instances where they had to do like drug checks, and they had checked for drugs because they smelt it. And I actually was personally involved in this check, and they checked my car. But of course, I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to bring drugs to school because stay in school and don't do drugs, kids. And they called me over and like, hey, we need to check your car for drugs. So they're checking my car, and at that time, you know, I had 5 gallons of pickles in my trunk. I was volunteering at my local church, so I got 5 gallons of pickles out of it. My car was getting checked. They opened the trunk and there's a 5-gallon pail of pickles. The new dean that we got, nice suit coat, all dressed up, jacket and all, tie, looking real snazzy. He's just like, what's in that bucket? And I'm like, 5 gallons of pickles. And drugs. I told him there were drugs in there, so he had to open up the pickle bin, roll up his sleeve, and sift his arm around the pickle bin to try to find my alleged drugs that I claimed that actually weren't there.
I feel like a lot of meth's made in Forest Lake. I think I've heard that. I don't know what the validity of that statement is. I know the Stacy Trailer Park, like 15 minutes away. That's fucking sketchy. Not gonna lie, man, this is quite the town. I can't say I'm incredibly fond of it. There's interesting people in this town, I would say. The thing about this town is it has a lot of interesting people and a lot of interesting stories of how people made the best of their boring-ass town by doing stupid and illegal shit and just being so retarded it's unbelievable. And I feel like that's kind of the legacy of this town. Like, everyone who lives here, it's like a small town, you know? You're either trapped in this small town or you make something of yourself. If you're trapped in this town, you're gonna do retarded, allegedly illegal shit, and you're gonna die in this town. A sad alcoholic who goes to the bar every day, like everyone else in this town.
I remember seeing something online as like in the like context of Fort Lake being kind of like a drug town or whatever. Don't quote me, but there was this article that somebody had found, one of my friends had found, talking about like a major drug bust happening in Forest Lake, where it was like this huge thing. Forest Lake is notorious for drug trafficking. I mean, we are right under Chisago County, which is one of the biggest meth producers in Minnesota. Yeah, when I was a kid, Chisago County and Anoka County were the biggest meth producers, and we're like right in the middle, kind of. So I saw a meth lab get raided. I lived in the trailer park and thought somebody was knocking on my door like really hard, so I went out and I was like, what? And I was like, SWAT team going in across the street into my neighbor's trailer. Like, yeah, I have my prejudices against Forest Lake.
We used to throw alleged garage parties where me and my friends would sit in the garage and just see how high we could get for a 12-hour period. And it was like every day our neighbors would be like, we're going to call the cops on you, blah, blah, blah. But they never fucking would. But I would say on the average school night, 14, 15 people here. And there was one time I allegedly snorted so much Xanax and drank so much that I passed out in the shower with it on. My friend shut it off and threw a towel over me, and then I turned it back on and slept the entire night with the shower on. I wake up at 6 in the morning with cold water going down on me. Looked at the time, said, well, it's 6 o'clock, just about time for school. Went into school, had a test about an hour later. Pretty good recovery time for me. Went a little overboard, quite a few times. Went a little overboard.
There was also a massive orgy in Forest Lake our senior year in a barnyard because, you know, we got rednecks and urban culture mixing together, so let's have an orgy in a barnyard.
What?
Pretty unsanitary, if you ask me. That was our senior year. Oh, shit. It was after a football game that they lost. I bet none of the football players were there getting an orgy, just saying. They weren't really that cool, guys.
Going back to the race thing. One really awkward thing when it came to growing up here and being of a different race and ethnicity was that people had the weirdest stereotypes and ideas for no reason. Even now, I still can't understand why you would come to this conclusion. And it was weird because there was a mixture of genuinely good-hearted and not trying to be mean, but coming off really uncomfortable and just genuinely stupid. I would have friends in high school who told me that, yeah, Brandon, we're gonna find a nice black girl for you today. And I'm like, okay, sure, that's not a bad thing. But specifically, why does she have to be black? Why does this have to be a thing? That's not a negative trait. It's so weird.
When I was a kid, there was no black people here, and if you went to the Mall of America, they'd always have those shirts that were like, I'm black and I survived Forest Lake, and we had like the 5 hate group like headquarters here. And now all those hate groups are shut down, and now there's a bunch of black people because every time I go to Walmart late at night, it's just crowded with black people for some reason. I probably didn't meet my first black person until I was like 16. I think it was Big Brandon Hilla. He works at Walmart now. He is very not black, but we used to ride the bus together. He didn't like me very much. But now we're friends.
Aiden didn't know how to handle black people because he never seen one until he was 14 years old. As for everybody in Forest Lake, rural Minnesota, we're in an all-white town, so I guess I'm like the closest thing to a black person they've seen.
See, that's funny. That kind of does play in to the mentality of the town. When I was growing up, I didn't really meet any black people because my mom was white, my dad is white, my brother's white. My aunts, uncles, all white. It kind of started getting to me when I was growing up. I kind of felt freakish in a way. I mean, I was bigger than everyone, darker than everyone, had different hair than everyone.
Had a bigger dick than everyone.
I don't like to brag. No, I was just completely different, an outcast. And a lot of it was my insecurities because while I was told like it's not weird, you're not, abnormal. So younger me had a hard time drawing that line, that difference. So I did genuinely feel like my skin, my body was just wrong, was just not good. I was abnormal, meandering away from what is supposed to be. Even when I would have friends that would try and help, it was more myself talking myself into that corner. Luckily, I grew out of that, thankfully, and got adult depression instead. When I was growing up, I was the only, recognizable black person. There was another one, but he was even lighter skinned than me. So you could actually count individually the black students that would attend our schools because there were so few. Because now it's still just here and there. There's no real presence. You could probably still count them as they come into Walmart, Target, whatever.
We're also pretty notorious for the whole marijuana scene.
Are we?
Oh, yeah. Whenever I talk to people, they'd be like, where are you from? I'd be like, from Forest Lake. And they're like, wow, you smoke a lot of weed? And everyone just knew us as the weed town. Which, fairly accurate, honestly.
Forest Lake has had so many waves. There was that period where synthetic cannabis was legal. And Daisy Mays was still there, and they sold a ton of it, and everybody in town was doing it. There wasn't even real weed around anymore. Kids were having seizures. Every week you would hear a story about something like this. And then there's meth and heroin or coke or whatever. It changes every week. And even more obscure stuff. I remember there was this whole research chemical period where it's 2CB, 2CT, 2MXE, blah, 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 blah. It's drugs. What do you do with your time? Whereas, if you had something you were more invested in, hobbies or whatever, blah, 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 I imagine that would be a lot healthier for the community. Whereas, if you have something you could put put your time into that's healthier. Like, yeah, we have a YMCA, but that's kind of it on terms of like healthy outlet for expression or whatever. I grew up in the trailer park, and that was like the worst road on the trailer park, and that was just kind of life. So like people be screaming blah 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 blah. It's like I didn't think much of it until I got out of it and moved to a different neighborhood, and it's much nicer with neighbors that aren't crazy. Like I imagine it'd be the same with Forest Lake. Like Forest Lake relatively isn't that bad. It's okay to grow up in if you can make good friends and like find stuff to do, like make healthy decisions. But I could see how it'd be bad if you were like in a shitty house or something, didn't have people to talk to about whatever, a group of people to hang out with. It'd be really easy to fall into shitty things in Forest Lake. Forest Lake is kind of like purgatory. Like it's not heaven or hell, but it's empty. If you have the chance to explore Forest Lake, do it, but you probably will reach the same conclusions that we all did.
Forest Lake it's basically a mega rest stop between Duluth and St. Paul, to be honest. You stop here, get whatever fast food you want, take a piss, stop at one of the 8,000 fucking gas stations in this town, and then you leave. We're like an hour from the airport, hour and a half from Duluth, so it's like the halfway point. So like anyone going from Duluth to the airport, it's like, oh, I need to shit quick, I need to grab some snacks. That's what we are, basically. It's like the ass end of the suburbs right before you just hit the country.
What is the funnest part about Flake?
Take your time.
The funnest thing. Apparently, allegedly in Forest Lake, there's this place called the Hobson House of Pain. It was the party house. Let me tell you here. There were kids coming here in high school and they were just smoking weed and drinking alcohol all the time and having sex in the basement with each other in massive orgies while the son was passed out drunk in the bathtub puking because their father was in jail. If you're gonna hit up Forest Lake, you gotta hit up the Hobson House of Pain because, like, that's where the party's at in Flake. That's where you wanna, like, you know... Allegedly. Formerly.
I remember that TV show, Life to the Max, that did its segment on me. They did it because I was in the speech team and I was doing poetry readings and whatnot, and they wanted to do it on me because, you know, I guess I was inspirational to some extent. It was so funny because they brought me into the office, they told me about it, I was super excited, and when I was about to be interviewed with them, it was just the most softball questions, and I was so ready to actually like say something. A bundle of joy and very smart, and I dare say they're a lot smarter than me when it comes to math, so that in the interview, I was stuttering so badly and didn't know what to say because I was wondering, am I going to get in trouble if I say anything too honest? If I say anything too unrated, I guess you could say, which you can find on YouTube actually. It's still,
really?
Yes. The Power of One, Life to the Max. They followed me. That was weird. Just filming me in class. Friends of mine who sat at a lunch table were just like, yeah, this is fine. And you could tell internally they're like, don't say anything that'll come up on video that you don't want other people to know.
It's a Forest Lake talk.
Yeah, that real deep philosophical shit about trucks and mud and farming and shit. Deep Forest Lake introspective shit.
There's nowhere good to hike or anything here. It sucks. It's boring. It's a place to live. It's a place to live and not much else. I feel like it's kind of like a Wisconsin town too, where like all the people over the age of 21 are huge alcoholics. I've kind of noticed that. The bars are always fucking packed. Every fucking bar in this town, it's just a bunch of belligerent 45-year-old people that are just like screaming about pussy or whatever. Just trying to be cool. And if you go to Walmart, it's a bunch of 14-year-old kids running around incredibly high, screaming about pussy because they want to be cool.
We have so many fast food places because we're a rest stop. We're on the way from the cities to Duluth. It's like, where else are you gonna stop but Forest Lake? It's a good place. We got a rest stop. We got like 1,000 fast food places. If you want a beer, you can stop at the Legion. Like, lately I've been going out for skates when I have free time. Try to do something to get the blood moving. Like, having a longboard, if you don't have a car in Forest Lake, is great, because there is a bike trail. You can get anywhere in Forest Lake in like 10 minutes. It goes from at least Hugo, or like mid-Hugo, all the way up to like North Branch, I think. Maybe it ends a little bit past Wyoming, I'm not sure, but it goes past Wyoming.
Yeah, I would say Forest Lake has a spending problem on fucking roundabouts. They got 50 million of them. Stupid walking bridges over like a fucking highway no one's walking over. And massive like town halls and shit. It's like kind of unnecessary, but I guess they got more spending money since they're way bigger. I mean, our old town hall was like a building about the size of a house that also had a police station, a 2-cell jail, like it was fucking Andy Griffith or some bullshit.
That's just it. There's nothing that makes this town different. The town is your most basic plain town in Minnesota. It's just, you know, it's got fast food for everyone who's leaving the city and get a quick snacky to stop at before they go up north and actually do something. I don't even like fast food, and I grew up in this shitty town with fast food. So whenever I'd go and get snacks with my friends, I'd be like going to a gas station, get bananas or like canned fruit, and then they'd all make fun of me and tell me I'm a weirdo and should kill myself. Yeah. Friends were a bunch of bullies, and one of them tried stabbing me and killing me. It's just, you know, a drive-by. You don't stop here unless you're 18 and want to gamble for your first time at running aces. Boy, that an experience.
Oh, the roads are always fucking horrible here too. Holy fuck, our roads are trashed half the fucking year. You can't drive anywhere. I don't know why we're paying taxes, because nothing ever gets done except for building bridges to nowhere. It's so stupid. There's nothing to do. On a good day, if I even decide to leave the house besides going to like Walmart to buy fucking chocolate milk, I can't even think of a single thing I'd do.
I don't feel the small town vibe anymore. Like I said, with small touches like the mural being painted over and apartment complexes just being thrown wherever, it's just feeling like a very boring college town. It's losing all of the charm it had, all of the rustic nature that, you know, a small town comes with. It loses everything. Heck, we're standing in a skate park that used to be here. It was small and didn't have much to it, but it was something that made it unique to this area. And now it is literally just a laid out parking lot of weeds growing out of the goddamn concrete. Just, this town is losing everything that made it.
There's not many serious businesses in Forest Lake that you can actually make money at. It's mostly either you want to start your own bar or your own vape shop. Eventually get your vape shop closed down because you sell to minors, because it's the only way to make money. There's this one time I was visiting Forest Lake just to see some people, and I was chatting with one of the Hobson brothers, and we were just sitting there chatting, and then some dude rolled up in a truck behind Perkins and then went over to this wagon that was for some reason full of tires and shit, and then he just stole a bunch of the tires and just drove off. I wouldn't suggest living in Forest Lake because it's one of those places that's going to start suffering really hard from urban sprawl. Because White Bear Lake's been getting hit pretty hard with it, and the local cities in Minnesota, the Twin Cities area, is a hotbed of crime right now. It's just been getting worse, and it's just spreading everywhere, and it's really bad.
So any excessively bad teachers you want to talk about?
Oh, teachers! Forest Lake!
What?
We had a teacher who got fired for hating gay people and posting about it. Because he's Catholic. Yeah. He's just like, being gay is a sin. He posted like 8 years ago. Some gay high schoolers were sifting through his webpage, his Facebook for some reason, and then they're like, whoa, he hates gay people. After I heard about that, I went to our high school board on Facebook, and I said, I posted a link to the article and said, wow, this is gay. And boy, did that cause a riot. Our former had sex with one of his former students when she became, like, of legal age. The second she turned 18, they hung out and they had sex.
Ooh,
and they never became, he was no longer allowed to be the again. He wasn't fired as a teacher, but he wasn't the anymore.
What teacher was that? I'm not gonna put it in.
He was the teacher that nobody had.
Yep.
That might explain why I don't know. Kind of creepy to fuck a student
Pretty creepy.
when you're in a position of power.
We had an who also had sex with a student. They just got married. Except, you know, they started their relationship before she graduated, so he didn't get to keep his job either. Kids would smoke weed in the forest by the school.
Anything else?
One time I was on the lake and this dude was in the kiddie swimming area with a harpoon.
And he sucked her dick.
Listen, kids, if you meet a chick that likes getting
I don't think any of this is useful.
This one guy also would whip out his dick at movie theaters with the girl that he's on a date out and say, I ain't putting it back or driving you home until you suck it.
Who's that?
Or jerk it.
We're gonna sentence mix that, and so it's you saying it.
Yeah. I've never broken the law and got caught. Allegedly, a bunch of 40-year-olds came into this house and smoked weed, and then their sons came home in the Hobson House of Pain.
Yeah, that did happen.
Is there anything you want to say about Forest Lake in general? A statement.
A statement. It's as good as it sounds.
Elementary was horrible because they did not give a shit about anything. They wouldn't put any time and effort into actually checking to see if someone was all right, if something actually happened. They would just punish all parties involved and just say, fuck it, that's a day. Kid said I punched him in the face one day. He had no marks on his face, wasn't bleeding, wasn't injured looking, didn't like hold his face. And I'm like, I didn't. And they're like, okay, you both get detention. Cool. Can we talk about the education too? The absolute shit level of it? Again, that power of one segment I was telling you about before, they had a part where I was teaching kids math. And they were doing long division, I think it was. Either long division or complicated multiplication. I didn't know how to do it.
I dare say they're a lot smarter than me when it comes to math.
When I was in school trying to learn it, the most that they would do would be give you the assignment. If you ask for help, they'd try and explain it. If you didn't understand it, oh well. And then when I didn't get my work done, I remember in 6th grade, it was the last party of the year, didn't get my work done. They made me sit right next to the party as kids were having snacks and playing games, and put the assignment in front of me that I didn't know how to do, and just told me I had to get it done, and left. So I was completely separated, yet right next to the party, couldn't enjoy in any of it.
It's a safe town to live in mostly. I don't know. I feel like I have a lot of stories. Most of them that are interesting are incriminating. The best thing about Forest Lake is that you're a half hour from the cities. You drive 10 miles south and you're able to find exciting shit to do. You can go to pretty cool shops. You can go to actual restaurants.
It's weird when you go to the bar. There will be people like me, or like, just like, people who are dressed kind of weird or whatever, and then there's people with like the fucking curled up hat and the trucker shirt or whatever. Like, I don't know. I feel like the other thing that people do a lot in Forest Lake is drink. Like, that's just easily accessible. There's multiple liquor stores, bars. So, like, that's, I feel like, kind of every small town, though, so. most people that I know smoke pot, or at least like are okay with it. I don't know many people that are like, oh yeah, pot's a terrible drug, whatever.
If I had to describe the general Forest Lake resident, it would probably be white, male, anywhere from 20s to mid 40s, honestly, and probably some sort of blue collar or some sort of hands-on job.
Forest Lake is big gay. That's my 5 words to sum up Forest Lake. Forest Lake is big gay. I feel like the best way to sum up Forest Lake, boring ass town. Whether or not you have access to hang out and play Fortnite in the vape store is pretty irrelevant, considering all you do here is sit around smoking and drinking, getting high. It's pretty much Forest Lake in a nutshell. Forest Lake is a rest stop town with some interesting characters, as most places have. And honestly, I feel like the people who live here probably can think fondly of all the illegal things they've done. 90% of them will probably look back on it fondly when they're sitting at one of the local dive bars, alcoholic to up. And, you know, we'll all get our day in court anyways for the obligatory DUI that you get just from living in Forest Lake. We'll all have our day in court eventually. So live it up while you can. To anybody else in smaller towns, I feel sorry for you because I already get so fucking bored living here. Like, I drive through the country and shit, and it's like a town where like the highlight's like a BP gas station. You're like, I salute you guys because I can't even live in my town. But at least I'm 30 minutes from exciting shit in the cities and stuff. Forest Lake, as good as it sounds.
Yeah, Ben Winnick called the planning commissioner a piece of shit.
For someone that has shown such cowardice behavior to our community in recent times, you've got a lot of nerve calling me a liar.
You're like really pushing it, Eric. We'll see you sometime when you're not in here. We'll see you as a coward then, you piece of shit.
I remember that was one of the few times that Forest Lake actually made news beyond, you know, weather happened here. It's sad. It's really depressing. And his junk pile is still there. You can still see it on the bike trail, newly renovated. The only thing that is provided by Winnick Supply that I can ever attribute to the town being more of the town is the goddamn pumpkin that they put up there every year for Halloween. And even then, it's like, it's a fucking pumpkin. At this point, I'm so jaded and cynical because of all the shit that you've seen growing up and the nostalgia glasses being removed. It just feels cheap, feels empty and lifeless. Oh yes, oh my God, the fight for the police department. That was so stupid.
What did he do?
So Ben Winnick, he decided it was a good idea to get rid of the police department.
Yeah, getting rid of the Forest Lake Police Department was a very questionable idea. Not sure what the exact thought process of that one was.
Especially since they just got into office.
I'm still very unsure why they attempted that.
And it blew up. I remember going to work one day and all the kids were protesting, walked over to the town hall. There's still signs in people's yards that are saying support or fight for the police department, kind of showing you how generally lazy and lackadaisical everyone is in this area. That really speaks volumes when it comes to someone here who, the minute that they get power, even though they've been here for, I don't even know how long he's been here, how long Winnick Supply's been here, the minute he got power and authority over others and something inconvenienced him, he used that power and authority to try and literally eradicate it. That is fucking terrifying. And where do you go from here? Without something serious and a genuine want to change and become better or something, nothing is going to get better. The education isn't going to get better. It's not going to make people think on a higher level other than, let's have a bonfire tonight. Because everyone that does have thinking beyond that of grapefruit leaves. And everyone else is either grapefruit or just don't give a shit. I fall into the latter at this point. But, yeah.
Let's see. I'll think of some good spots while we drive.
Alright.
Me and Connor were laughing about bleeping out everything except butt finger, so just be like, beep, and she fingers butts. Bleep out the context and the names and just leave funny out of context statements or words. What are some town landmarks? Do you need shots of the beach? Have you gotten any of the lake? Oh, you got a little on the lake.
Are you alright with me leaving that in? The Hobson House of Pain?
Yeah, go for it. I don't care. I don't care what you leave in. Oh, we're gonna look creepy as fuck because there's kids here.
Yeah.
That's weird. I'm just gonna skedaddle. There's nothing petty about saying Force Lake sucks. It's factual. It's documenting the reality. My reality, anyway. My reality is more important than anyone else's.
This will be the new credits.
The funny thing is, I expected this to hit like 50 views on YouTube, so I felt fine saying whatever the fuck I wanted. And now, I'm still fine with it, but I'm moderately more nervous. Like, that one thing I had you cut out, if it was just a YouTube thing, I would have just left that in because nobody would ever know. Maybe insert a slide at the start of the movie. It says all stories featured maybe fiction. There's some nice spots on North Shore.
Yeah, we should go to the rich people house.
We don't need anything super upscale, but that's kind of like the dichotomy. It's like you either got like super cheap stuff or you got like really fancy restaurant kind of stuff that you can go to. It'd be a good town for old people. Like, especially because everything's open during the day. It's like, I don't get up in the morning. I can't utilize, like, half the stuff that's open. Yeah, I don't know. Forest Lake's kind of got its own little weird bubble of culture. The average Forest Lake person is probably your typical everyday Minnesotan. I have a picture in my head, but it's kind of hard to describe. It's basically just a guy with a hat and a shirt, and he's got kind of a beer belly.
Yeah.
And, yeah, jeans. Blue jeans. That's another one, too. Kids driving trucks. City kids that act like country kids. Or, like, they're kind of in between, but they're, like, yeah. Every once in a while, you see a random goth kid walking around. It's always nice. It's refreshing. If you're in Flake, you should leave. Go. Get a car and go. Anywhere. You could go walk around the lake or something. Like, what do you do? Like, all the things I do involve the bike trail or my room. So, I don't know what to do in Flake. This is a bad question. Okay, the theater's probably one of the better points of Forest Lake. It's small. It's like, it's something to do, though. It's a nice theater. It's definitely one of the shining spots of Forest Lake. I can appreciate that the theater's there and that it's been there consistently through my life. Everything in Forest Lake has been changing.
Oh, I thought you could see the lake shore from here. I was going to say you can get some lake stuff, but I don't really want to walk into there.
Fair enough. Or can we get some
and shit?
Honestly, most people I ask are like, yeah, it's cool.
If you want. They have a patio out there that we could get nice shots of lake from.
Want to try it?
Yeah, go for it. The weather's generally nice. We live in like this weird little zone where tornadoes always curve around us and hit the cities around us. And it's never really like blistering hot or it gets fucking cold, but that's everywhere up north. So.
Fair enough.
We should get a little kid and stick him in there. Not in like a murder way, but like we could have him pop out and it'd be funny. don't know if there's any spot for it left, but it'd be nice if there was like hiking trails or, you know, outside of the concrete one that cuts through the middle of the city.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough because a lot of it's dependent on stuff outside of the city's control, really, like getting businesses to move in. I suppose they could do like tax shenanigans and stuff to get businesses interested. I mean, what businesses do we have that are actually local?
Tired Iron.
We have a bunch of fast food places, a bunch of chain convenience stores and grocery stores. As far as local businesses, it's like the print shop, this kind restaurant that's letting us film on their property. Winnick Supply. We have Arts in the Park, which is more stuff like that, I guess. Because Arts in the Park only lasts like a month, and it's once a week or twice a week. Is it Tuesdays and Thursdays, or is it just Thursdays?
It's every Tuesday.
More stuff like that. I don't know how long it was ago. I don't think they do it anymore, but 3 or 4 years ago they had like movies in the park. For a while they'd show like kids movies in the park and shit.
Right.
On the projector or whatever. I don't know, I didn't go, but I was too old to go see like Norm of the North on the projector.
It's a college town in the sense that they're trying to jam as many people in here as possible, and there's nothing to do. There's nothing here besides food and utilities. Yeah, it's like a college town in that way. It's here for one specific reason, and that's you exist. That's it. We seem to attract either stupid or weird.
I don't know, a lot of, not to be too pessimistic, but a lot of the stuff is kind of too late. A lot of our nature's already been annihilated. It'd be nice if there was like a section at the lake, section around the lake that was just like a park, like not like the beach park, but like an actual like nature park.
Right.
Something like that. Yeah. More roundabouts. It's whatever, as long as you don't stay away from those few really bad areas. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a boring town, but it's 2019. You don't have to go out to be entertained. You can watch unlimited movies on Netflix. If I was an old person, I'd love living on the lake here. Nobody bothers you. The only parts of town that are really like questionable are like, it basically is just like a radiating circle away from Walmart. The closer you are to Walmart, the worse things are.
I want to like this town. I've lived here all my life. I want to like it here. But it's such a sad, limping mess. It needs people who give a shit. I want to like it, but unless something drastic changes, I can't see this town becoming anything other than that laughing stock with a lot of people in it. Forest Lake is what you make it. And Forest Lake is a place that, while a joke at the current moment and a punchline and at best a memorable Urban Dictionary entry, it can be better. As cynical as I am, I know that effort can actually change things. So I don't know what needs to be done. I just know something should be done. And maybe someone with the right idea can come up. I know that's not me, but I guess I can hold out hope for it.
Aiden said the only thing to do here is to drink, fuck, and do drugs.
You're lucky if you get to fuck.
I'm gonna cut that in after he says that. That'll be your title card. You're lucky you get to fuck.